I worked with a cancer dietitian, and I learned truly
Ah,
what are the foods that do actually cause cancer. And there's really not that many. I think it's just alcohol and processed meats that are directly linked to cancer.
hi everybody. This is Diane Gilman, formerly known as the Queen of Jeans, but now the proud host of my podcast, Too Young to Be Old. And also proud to say that I am a cancer survivor and warrior. And I have someone in my sisterhood with me today, Andrea Berkowitz, who is so brave, so resilient, so strong, and has an amazing and inspiring story to tell you, as do I, about our journeys through breast cancer. Andrea, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I know that it's not an easy subject to talk about, but so necessary because all of the publicity and perception around breast cancer is I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. It's going
Yeah.
to be terrible. And both of us, you and I, found a way to get through it. And I have to be perfectly honest with you. When I look back on my journey through breast cancer, I do not have one bitter or dark thought. I felt it was just a portion of my life, not my entire life. And I felt, honestly, that it was necessary. And I came out the other end a very different person.
Yes.
And
Without
actually, spurred me to change my life so much for the better. My life was so toxic. So tell us your story.
So my story began actually today was 11 years ago today. I got my first
Wow.
diagnosis. Yeah, September 26, 2013. I was 42. It was 1 month before my oldest daughter's bat mitzvah. And I routinely went to a breast specialist because I had extremely dense breasts. So I went to see him. He would do a physical exam. I would have a mammogram and a sonogram. And earlier in that year, I had been cleared. Nothing was found. See you later. Come back in a year. And while I was in the shower one day, I found a lump, and I just kind of ignored it because I'm like, well, they didn't find anything. And then finally I was like, I think I need to go get this checked out. And sure enough, I went to the doctor, had a sonogram. They said, can you come back at 1 today for a biopsy? And I'm like, what's going on? And then the next day, which is 11 years ago today, I got the phone call that it was
Unbelievable.
invasive ductal carcinoma. Yeah. And so
Well, what stage?
well, at the time we didn't know. All the scans that I had, the MRIs and CAT scans showed there was no lymph node involvement. But I was having a double mastectomy first because I didn't know if I needed chemo. And there was a 1 centimeter tumor on my sentinel lymph node. So that meant chemotherapy. It was stage 2A, that one. So I had 16 rounds of chemo, and I went kind of to a dark place for a while, going on the internet and reading things that I'm like, oh, I need to become a strict vegan. But that didn't last. And then life went on,
Yeah.
life went on, and I was doing great. And in March of 2021, right in the middle of COVID, I was used to just feeling, even though I had a double mastectomy, I always was just touching just because I found the first one myself. And a large lump I found in the bath. And it was a new primary, unrelated. It was triple negative, extremely aggressive cancer that just kind of popped up overnight, literally. Immediately started chemo, and I did 2 different regimens. It did not do anything. The tumor grew. So I had surgery, radiation, and a year on a chemo pill. And it's been 3 years, and I am doing phenomenally. I just have done a 180 with my life. I have just a true appreciation for just life itself, and I have purpose and meaning. And it was actually a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I thought it was such a backhanded blessing. And interestingly enough, and perfect for me, I never let the fear get in. I never allowed myself to be surrounded by people who gave me that look like, oh, you poor thing, I know you're going to die, so I'll just humor you. I got rid of all those people. It wasn't easy. And I never, ever once allowed myself, even in my most private and darkest moment, to say, shit, Diane, you're going to die. I always said this is going to be part of my life, not all of my life. Now, you had it happen to you twice, which is a whole different psychological thing. So, how did you handle it, Andrea?
Well, I think what I went through the first time, I kind of learned my lesson, because the first time I spent a lot of time worrying and digging and going on Google, and it just kept me feeling depressed and sad. And so I kind of decided, you know what, this is getting me nowhere. I only have so much control. I can't control what's going to happen today, tomorrow. So why live like that? I don't want to look back and say, thank God I spent all that time worrying and going on Google and
Yeah.
just being sad and depressed. So for the second time, it really helped me just to say, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And it was a completely different experience going through it the second time, because I didn't let myself go there.
Yeah, I never let myself go there. And I remember that one of the features of going to the clinic, I went to the Dubin Clinic within Mount Sinai Hospital, was they had these cancer groups.
Yes.
And I kept saying, well, you can go to the cancer group. And they also had a traveling cancer storyteller who wanted to tell you the entire story of her trip through cancer. And I thought, why do I want to hear this?
Right.
I'm already going through it. And why do I want to repeat it? Because that's just lengthening the whole shadow. But the real truth was, I came out of it, and the first thing I thought to myself was, your lifestyle is killing you. And if you don't, as much as you love being asked for autographs and being recognized everywhere and flying first class and this and that, and I love the TV camera, it's not set up to nurture your body, especially a 72, 73, 74-year-old body. I took the position I was in as the number one fashion personality on teleretailing, and I thought to myself, okay, 30 years, good run. What did you get out of it? Well, I like being in front of a TV camera, and I'm pretty sure I can talk. So we might try something really modern, like being a silver-haired influencer and a podcaster. Best decision I ever made. I got rid of so much aggravation and bad juju in my life. What I would say to anybody out there is, actually, it's your choice. It just takes some mind discipline. So what did you do, especially the second time around? How did you come out of it? And did you make any life changes?
Yes. Well, I of course made health changes, as far as I worked with a cancer dietitian, and I learned truly what are the foods that do actually cause cancer. And there's really not that many. I think it's just alcohol and processed meats that are directly linked to cancer. So sugar does not fuel cancer, things like that, that soy is fine. And I was eliminating all these things thinking that, I can't have anything, but really alcohol and processed meats. So I did a 180 on that, because I went vegan and I had no sugar and, nothing. And it was kind of depressing. So that was one of the big changes that I made. And I also kind of let go of toxicity in my life. I,
Yeah.
there are many times where I'd rather just stay home in my pajamas with my husband and watch Netflix than to go
Yeah.
out and socialize with people that don't add, things to my life, that don't bring me joy. And I like to laugh. And so who I spend time with now is I limit it to people who lift me up and who we all just lift each other up and we make each other laugh. And so that's been a huge thing. And also purpose. I have found that having a purpose um,
Is everything. Oh
is
my God.
has changed me like the most. I think that just waking up every day and having a purpose and doing good for other people and making the world a better place.
You know, I learned so much about myself through breast cancer that it set me up for the rest of my life, which I hope is at least another 20 years, okay,
At
to
least,
live to be 100. And I realized I couldn't get through the rest of my life if I didn't have purpose. So I, like you, really wanted to take my sisterhood of women past 50 and give them as many solutions
yeah,
for living longer, living better. I like to call it modern aging, that I could. And just like you, I have no guilt if I want to stay in and splurge on 6 hours of a Netflix series. I'm watching Monsters right now. It's
yeah,
pretty good. And I got rid of a lot of guilt in my life, and I stopped listening to other people who were like, "Oh, you should be traveling. Oh, you should be cruising. Oh, you should." No, I
no.
should be doing exactly what I'm
For
doing.
you, I'm the same way. I do
Feels
my
right.
self-care is if I don't feel like going and socializing with a bunch of people, then I'm going to choose not to do that because I need to do what's best for me. And sometimes I
Yeah.
just need to be alone, sometimes I just need to spend time by myself in my own space and to kind of get rid of just the noise and everything around me. So,
Well, my way of doing that was the day after I got the "it's horrible, it's spread all over." What she really meant was it was in two breasts, not one,
yeah,
not that it spread all over. Um, I called a friend of mine who was a fashion editor and said, "Do you want to write a book together about my journey through breast cancer?" That was my first brush with my life needs purpose and direction. So, all during the treatment and after, it was about writing, it was about
yeah,
expressing, it was about getting out feelings. Then, so that was published when I was 75. I'm 79 now. And then a year and a half ago, I was approached to be part of an anthology book, international, 13 authors, all women who had gone through, and you could pick your trauma. And out of everything that had happened in my life, and plenty of trauma and definitely drama there, I picked my journey with breast cancer. And I think that my seminal moment, and this one I wrote without a ghostwriter, and it was a very emotional experience. And I think my seminal moment, honestly, Andrea, was I'm like sitting there doing something, lifting weights in my living room, and I'm watching CNN, and on comes the Princess of Wales. And she announces she has cancer and coincidentally is wearing a pair of jeans, which strike me as a very common every woman touch, a universal message. And for the first time, and that was only what, a year ago, maybe 10 months ago,
right.
I burst out in tears and I cried me a river. When I realized that it didn't matter whether you were a princess or a pauper, a television star or an heiress, we are all
Yes.
leveled and we are all together because of this disease, which is getting more and more common.
Much more.
Um,
Yes.
and that is a really humbling experience in and of itself, to realize that you're part of a network. You may never meet the people that wind up inspiring you with your story, with their story, but in fact, it actually gets absorbed as part of your story. And it never occurred to me that somebody as beautiful, as accomplished, as privileged to be the future Queen of England would
Yeah.
have
Cancer
that
doesn't discriminate,
disease.
does
Yeah.
discriminate, and it hit me twice. I don't have any genetic predispositions. I mean, I had one kind, and then I had the most aggressive kind. And um, I turned to blogging and inspiring, and now I coach women, and it's like it feels so good to me to be able to help others who are going through a similar
Oh,
experience.
yes. So good. And if you had to give a primary gem of advice to women out there that are terrified during every mammogram, or annoyed, or think to themselves, this is never going to happen to me, or get the diagnosis and think to themselves, I'm going to die, which is really common. Andrea, what would you say to them?
Well, the first thing I would say before, for the people who haven't been diagnosed is please do self breast exams with all of your screenings, because they miss too many breast cancers. It missed mine. The MRI didn't even catch mine. It's
Wow.
invisible on the MRI. The lymph node was invisible on the MRI, and I found it myself. Had I not done anything about it, I don't know where I would be right now. So I urge. It's one of my biggest messages that I try and send to all women is every month do a self breast exam, and if something feels off, get it checked out. You have to be your own best advocate. Go get a
Yeah.
sonogram, whatever else you need, but don't ignore it. And then if you get diagnosed, the best advice I can give is stay off the internet. Don't go on Google. Keep your conversations with your family and your doctor. Don't catastrophize it, because you don't know. There's so many medications and there's so many stages, and there's more often than not, women are surviving and thriving after they get
Yeah.
diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah.
And if you dwell on the negative and you're constantly, I mean, I know I did this. I was in Facebook groups and people are talking about cancer came back, and it just did nothing for me. So just try and add positivity to your life. Surround yourself with friends and family who lift you up, and just keep the medical discussions between your doctor and you. And
Frankly, I loved the just natural every woman language that my surgeon gave me, and I had tons of respect for her. She'd written 4 bestsellers on the New York Times about navigating breast cancer, realizing how confusing it can be,
yeah,
how you can get false positives or false negatives. I didn't even bother with the oncologist. That was so much science and about chemicals.
yeah,
The one thing I did that I would probably really recommend is if you have a choice of care, go someplace that treats you like a friend,
yes,
a human. My husband had cancer, and he passed away from it after a very valiant and tragic 10-year battle. And he went to a hospital that was purely a research hospital, but actually the only cancer hospital in New York at the time. And he was a number. And I thought to myself, I remember thinking, I could never survive being in this hospital.
yeah,
I
and
could,
especially a lot of the cancers, especially breast cancer, the treatments are all pretty much the same, unless
yeah,
you're doing a trial, or a clinical trial or something, trying a new drug. But if you're going to get the same treatment at one hospital that's like herding people in and out, that you can get in, like where I went, where I was, it was like a small environment and a very
yeah,
nurturing environment, and I became friends with all the nurses, and my doctor is
yeah,
wonderful. It's just, it doesn't matter. You're getting the same medicine.
yeah. That is so true. I never thought about it from that angle. And I had one of the epiphanies I had amongst many was one day we, of course, because radiation was right by chemo, we were in the basement of Mount Sinai and they had a fire in the basement. There's like
No.
smoke coming out. I'm just pulling up in a car and they're screaming out on the sidewalk, go to the blah, blah, blah building on Madison Avenue. That's where we're going to treat you today. Don't skip chemo. Okay. I'm used to being in a tiny clinic founded by a woman, white orchids everywhere, your own personal masseuse, foot massage,
Oh,
your
wow.
shoulder massage. Yeah, catered, or
VIP service.
you have no idea. It was perfect for me. So I go around the corner, I get to the floor that I guess is a general cancer floor. Now, I'm used to being in a waiting room that holds maybe 50 women, maximum.
Mhm.
Andrea, it was the size of two professional football fields.
No.
It was vast, and there was not one seat that wasn't taken. And I think that's when it really hit me that this is huge. This is a health tsunami that is overwhelming. And so I agree with you. If you can go someplace
Yeah.
smaller, more intimate, more personalized, more on a human scale, you won't be hit with that feeling
Right.
of, whoa, this is not doable. I think that so much of what my treatment was showing me, and I never thought of myself really as brave, just bullheaded, but not brave. It showed me so much about myself.
Yeah.
Wow, cancer, breast cancer showed me who I was,
Yep.
what I wanted to do with my future, where I was going, and damn it, I was going to get there. I
I'm
was
the
going to.
same. I mean, before cancer, if I had to give a speech, I would be in panic mode. Like my mouth would be dry. Oh my God, I have to read it. And the confidence that I've gained from it. And I mean, I'm doing videos on Instagram all the time now. And I
And they're
love
good
to
too.
speak, to help people. And I can't wait to do it. And it's life changing. It really is.
What I want to say to everybody out there in conclusion is what appears to be the worst moment of your life can actually turn out to be the best moment of your life.
Yes.
And be guaranteed when you are enveloped in darkness, you are just a step away from the light. And the light, as you come out of that darkness, may shine brighter than any light ever has. I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
I think that we are the same. My gratitude for freedom,
Yes.
for my life, for where it's going, for enjoyment of crazy little things like
Anything, everything. Yeah.
seeing butterfly. There, it's life is such a gift and it is so magnificent. And sometimes we just get embroiled and we stop appreciating. So you may want to use this as a tool, a guiding tool, but this could be the best segment of your life only by how it propels you
Yes.
after it comes to a close. And it really and totally prepared me for what I want to do, what I want to accomplish. And I do not feel, and I wonder if you agree with me, I don't feel it's a coincidence that I got saved. Once I got saved, I felt, okay, Diane, put the pedal to the metal. Now it's all about purpose and helping other women.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. I agree. And I'm thankful and grateful that I had cancer. I mean, I never thought I would
Yeah,
say those words, but it's
yeah,
true. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without it. And so
yeah.
I don't look at it as a curse. I look at it as a gift.
I look at it as a necessary step as well. I would have never matured into the woman I am now or had the empathy or the compassion or the sense of sisterhood I have without going through something that, quite frankly, was that traumatic. But in closing, I say, ladies, half of us in America, at least, are going to have cancer within our lifetime.
Yeah.
And 1/3 of us, it will be breast cancer. Be aware that it has the most money donated to it as a disease. It has the most research done on it. And the solutions, really, you can walk through them and have them give you back a life perhaps you never imagined
Yeah,
you would.
absolutely.
And with that, in conclusion, my sister, I thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was delightful. Thank you.
It was great.
Thank you so much for listening to Too Young to Be Old podcast. The episode may be over, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Diane Gilman, or visit our website, thedianegilman.com. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a review and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until then, don't forget, age is just a number. Together, we'll prove that we are all too young to be old.